Good morning, I'm Guy Kesteven, rider, writer, historian, narrator of this video, and soon-to-be writer of the official guidebook for the new Cycling UK Marcher Castles Way. And this is part 3 of that route and this video series as I ride from Montgomery, where I am now, back over the hills to Shrewsbury, where we started when we got about 70k to go. So it's a 300-kilometre route. It's not an away marked route, but there will be sections of the route which are signposted as part of other routes. But all the details on the route and GPX files for your GPS system can be found on the Cycling UK website and through the official guidebook, which, like I say, I'll be writing when I get back home. So this is a reconnaissance ride, so you'll be riding along with me as I check out the route, make sure it's all enjoyable to ride and links all the best scenic and historic spots possible to create a really compelling, enjoyable gravel or mountain bike route through Shropshire, Herefordshire and the Welsh borders. So Montgomery is a charming little town named after Roger Montgomery, who set up the castle which overlooks the town. I mean, you can't quite see it from here, but you can see the signpost leading up there. So that the castle was set up overlooking the town, guarding kind of an important road route and accessing the area. And, you know, as typically for towns in this area, very rich history of conflict and toing and froing with, particularly with Llywelyn ap Gruffydd, the original Prince of Wales and the last great Prince of Wales. And yeah, beautiful spot full of cafes, really nice looking cafes, places to stay, places to eat. So a great stop-off place. I mean, there's accommodation all over the place. Big shout out to Debbie and Rod at Bron Hafren. That's where I stayed, just down the road, down by the river. So about sort of 5 kilometres out from Montgomery, but thoroughly recommend them. Superb little B&B, and the reviews about the exceptional breakfast and the excellent hospitality are all true. So thanks very much to those guys for putting me up last night. But now we're going to head out of town. And we've got a series of hills. These, you know, you obviously, if your legs are feeling it by the third day, you can dodge around the hills. But, you know, the beauty of hills is you get some incredible views. And a lot of these are very interesting historic and nature reserve sites in their own right. So really pleased to have along with me for this part of the ride. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, obviously watch those first, and then you'll get an idea of the context and why I might be complaining a bit as the gradients get steeper, because this is you know, don't underestimate this ride in terms of the hilliness and in terms of its hilliness and the effort required to get up some of the hills around there. You know, this is a proper lumpy area of the country, but absolutely beautiful. So, without further ado, let's get rolling. Now there's a wonderfully English view. Friday morning cricket game. And by the way, if you're wondering what the going is like between the bits I have shot, the sort of scenic or historic highlight sections, not just today, but days 1 and 2 as well, it's pretty much all like this. All basically deserted back roads, gravel or grass up the centre, big hedgerows, tree lines, absolutely bursting with wildlife. Had all sorts of creatures furred and feathered for company over the last 2 days, and today looks to be shaping like more of the same. So perfect for a gravel bike on these sections, although to be fair, I think you'll find it tough on some of the climbs. So if you've got the option, take something with nice low gearing. But from a technical nature, gravel bike is absolutely fine. Just probably benefit from some lower gearing for the climbs, especially if you're loaded. The views certainly aren't for free around here. Sorry, I shouldn't be eating a bun while I'm talking to you, all going uphill. But absolutely stunning. See all the way over to Montgomery. And the castle in the trees, and back where we came on day 2 as well. And behind us we got an awesome view of Rounton Hill with an Iron Age hill fort perched right on top. And the hill we're on now, Corndon Hill, is actually a old stone circle site just down there. And we'll be heading over the tops past a load of cairns and prehistoric barrows to another stone circle where I'll stop and have a little look at the view, I reckon. And here we are, inside the stone circle of Mitchell's Fold. Obviously very ancient, probably religious, or at least a meeting place site, but also reputedly where a local giant kept his cow, which could produce unlimited milk until it was cursed by a witch. And it was the townspeople were so enraged by this that they turned the giant, I'm not sure of his exact, but anyway, which ended up being turned to stone, and then the other stones put around her so she couldn't escape. And the cow was sent off south to become the dun cow. But what happened to the giant, apart from him having very dry cereal from that point in, and black tea, I don't know. But shouldn't make light of these sites anyway. They are special. Just rolling down off Corndon Hill now. It's a big old plateau as you roll along, and I have to say, that's been one of the highlights of the route so far. And most people have probably never even heard of it. Compared to the Stiperstones, another more famous, and the Long Mynnd, another more famous hills in the area. Absolutely stunning bit of riding though. Just awesome on a gravel bike or a mountain bike. And that's what I love about, you know, using a bike to join up routes like this. You just find these hidden gems that you wouldn't normally sort of loop in, just because you can go that bit further, that bit easier. And there's the next little project for our legs, the Stiperstones. Now, Snail Beach is a village built for the local lead miners by the quarry owners, so it's relatively modern. But there's been lead mining in this area around Stiperstones since the Roman times at least, and probably before then. So wouldn't be surprised if there's settlement evidence dating right back in time. And here we are at the old Snail Beach mine workings. You can see there's the lift and shaft there to get the lead out. There's the engine house, the old cable running up and over. You've got the forge, you've got the miners' dry where they get changed after work. And you know, according to this sign, I mean, it's 227 metres deep is that shaft. And on 6th of March 1895 there was a horrible accident when 7 miners who were going down in the cage died instantly when the rope snapped. So it was a tough, I mean, it's a grueling way to make a living. You know, they're down there working by candlelight, 8-hour shifts, 3 a day, but you could earn up to 22 shillings, which is £1.10 a week, which back in that time would be something of a fortune. By the way, I should point out this is actually a little bit off the track. It's just up to one side, but definitely well worth a little detour off the route to get in there. And there's Snail Beach. There's another mine shaft going up the hill. There's another engine house there. And another over there. Proper little industrial complex in here. Right, halfway up Stiperstones climb now. Getting a bit loose and rocky. It's been steep since the start, but good news is, oh, damn it. But the good news is, even though it's very steep, first third is at least on metalled road, so the winching all the walking is on a good footing. So it's a case of putting one foot, one pedal stroke after the other, getting to the top of Shropshire's second largest hill. Although I don't expect to hurry it. And one thing I haven't said enough, I'm sure, is that always remember you're riding through a working landscape. So while hopping off and opening and shutting gates can be a pest, particularly if you're riding solo. You know, a minute of your life making sure all the gates are as you found them could save hours and hours of a farmer's life looking for lost livestock, or them even getting onto roads and causing accidents. So always make sure you follow the countryside code and just respect where you're riding, because we want cyclists to be welcome in these beautiful wild places, not seen as a nuisance. And as well as looking after the environment you're riding in, make sure you respect the environment that might be coming at you as well. Now, views like this and these ridge lines and hilltops are beautiful, but it's obviously a much higher risk of weather exposure up here. It can be a long way from shelter and civilization without realizing it. So always prepare accordingly, you know, carry spare layers, spare weather layers, survival bag if there's a chance that it'll get really cold. It's just like, you know, bringing enough food and water. It's always better to take an extra coat and a base layer on a ride and spend a few more calories getting it up the hills than it is to risk hypothermia and exposure. If you have an incident and it means you're stuck up here. So, ride safe, folks, and respect the environment. Unfortunately, there's no actual legal access to the Stiperstones and the Devil's Chair rock up on the tops there, but the whole area is a nature reserve as well, so you don't want to, but you know, you can easily walk up there if you wish. But the whole area is just absolutely rich in folklore, from Wild Eric, the Saxon Earl, riding around here whenever England is apparently threatened with invasion, and commemorating his role in fighting off the Norman invaders for quite a while around here. And there's all sorts of Celtic remains up there, well, not necessarily Celtic, but Bronze Age and Iron Age barrows and cairns all the way along that ridgeline. And then we're over to the Long Mynnd, where there's even more folklore and even more prehistoric remains. But perhaps unsurprisingly for this route, even more climbing to get there. And I know I always rattle on about it on these routes and on the other time travel gravel edits I do for my own channel at Pedaling Past, but I love thinking of all the different journeys that have been made along these ancient tracks. If you've got prehistoric mounds at the top of this hill, then you've got journeys stretching back, if it's the Bronze Age, at least 3,000 years, and probably before then. You know, how many hooves and feet have trodden these trails? What were they doing? What were they thinking? What was their story before the adventure you're writing today? Just being immersed in this landscape and being on a bike is just such a superb way to experience it, because you're totally in the environment experiencing it almost as they would have done with the Bronze Age Romano British lead miner, Norman soldier, well, the English soldier fighting the Welsh, or vice versa. Oh, you know, medieval cattle drover, or milkmaid going to market, whatever. So many experiences and lives have been lived out along these trails. And here we are, lucky enough to be having our own little paragraph to that narrative. Love this part of wild riding. And England and Wales are just such a fantastically rich historical landscape to experience it. Just look at the views. You know, this is just off the side of Stiperstones now, looking over to Long Mynnd, where we're heading next. Just wonderful riding out here. And also, I keep saying this, but it's absolutely deserted. I mean, since I've set off from Montgomery, I had a chat with the lass who was doing a long distance walking route. Well, she's doing Offa's Dyke way and heading right up to the north coast, just outside Montgomery. And there are a couple of chaps coming down Stiperstones on mountain bikes, and I've just gone past a couple of hikers on the ridgeline. That's 5 people. And I've been out here for hours now, to and fro in the navigation and the notes, making sure I've got everything ready to write up for the guidebook. But it's just completely deserted and unspoiled. Amazing landscape. Another stinker of a gradient up to the Long Mynnd, but again, at least it's sort of road. Actually glad of the gates. Could catch my breath on this one. That definitely makes it into the tough old climb anthology that this Marcher Castle's Way should have a big chapter in. This is a tough route, but I have to say, now I'm on top of the Long Mynnd with a bit of a tailwind. There's incredible views over to the Stiperstones and over to Caer Caradoc hill fort. You can just see popping up the other side of Church Stretton. I think that's the Wrekin over there. It is fantastic up in here. And talking about body experiences, there's a huge amount of burial mounds up here, primarily from the Bronze Age, but there's some chambered tombs up here that might be early. There's dozens of tumuli up here and 20 barrows of all different sizes and types. And I'm currently running along parallel to the Portway. There's an ancient track that runs the whole length of the Long Mynnd. In fact, I think we've just joined the Portway. So again, you're scudding along in the footsteps and hoof prints of millennia of different people to have walked these marches. And what, I mean, again, just so wild and so remote, considering, you know, you're only just out of the West Midlands and Birmingham and Telford. All those huge centres of population. You know, you can see them from here on a clear day. And yet, it feels like You're in the absolute wilds in the middle of nowhere. And now we've got a long old drop down into Church Stretton. So this is the payback for all those slow pedal strokes on the uphill. Obviously just be careful, because while it's pretty much deserted, oh here we go, here's a couple of people coming up now. You know, you are going to meet people coming up as well as going down. Alright. So, you know, walkers, kids, dogs, as well as bikers, so don't go mad. Keep it sensible. Especially if you're on a gravel bike, because as you can see, it does get chunky in places. Oh, proper chunky. Wait. Yeah. That'll get an advisory sticker in the guidebook for sure. Oh, glad I filmed that. Gives you an idea. So yeah, don't go herring into that too fast. In fact, it looks like a bit of a... I mean, it's cracking fun, but don't let yourself run away with the speed. It's still a fair way out of town. If you do come across... Oh, there's little ponies! I presume they were sheep. That little Long Mynnd ponies there. Little feral farewell moment. Oh, cyclists, please slow down, you see? Good advice. Oh. Sorry, I would turn the camera off, but I've not had a chance to take your hand off the bars yet. But as you can see, it's a beautiful valley, is this? I'm trying to look up and take in the scenic nature of it. Heather's just starting to come out now. Start of August. Oh, this is gorgeous. I mean, I don't know if you can see Snowdonia from here, but it certainly feels a lot like sections of Snowdonia. Oh, now this is a bit spicy. Oh, drops. Oh, yeah. That'll do. That'll do. Yeah, it's quite busy with families and walkers through the bottom section here, so definitely take it steady. Well, this is a bit of a shock after my little speech about...
Here
we are, back into the joys of population.
Give me that phone now. She nearly just got run over.
It's grand to be back amongst humanity, isn't it? Not really missed it. Right, so finally made it to Church Stretton for a rather later than intended lunch. And, well, first I can tell you that the Shropshire fidget pie from Saxton's The Deli is absolutely fantastic. But I can also tell you that people have been occupying the Stretton Gap, as it's known, where the river, and it's just another of these north-south valleys running up through Wales. And there's a Roman road runs through here. There's an Iron Age hill fort, Caer Caradoc, which we'll be heading towards next, overlooking the town. But prehistoric remains around here, and you know, a very important trading centre in the medieval period. There's Saxon references to it. It's mentioned in the Domesday Book. And it really comes to fame in the sort of Victorian and Edwardian periods as Little Switzerland, because of the surrounding area and its sort of mountainous geology, and it actually flourished as a health spa for a while. So there's a big health hotel in the town called the Hydro. But again, lovely little market town here. Some really picturesque little buildings as well, and Nice upmarket deli. I mean, it's expensive, but a bit of quality food at this stage in the ride does not go amiss. But there's all sorts of cafes and pubs and other shops to restock on supplies in. And I forgot to say, it's on the railway as well, so if you've had enough of pedalling by now, you can just hop on the train back to Shrewsbury. But not far now. Still a few hills, but not far in distance. Right, little navigational point here. As you've come up the road and then the gravel track out of Church Stretton, the OS map makes it look as though you should go that way. But actually, come through this gate. I've just found this out by trial and error, so I know this is to be through. And then as it starts to curve around, I mean, there are bridle plays that way, but what we want to do is drop down on this path here to this gate. And then we're over to Caer Caradoc. And as always, just take your time. Don't scare the livestock. There's enough mention of scaring of livestock going on in Gerald of Wales. Oh, it looks like it might be quite a spicy one. Oh well, what goes up must come down, eh? Excuse me, lovelies. Nope, after you then. Oh, that was a cracking bit of single track, was that? One of the best on the route. And now, I'm dropping down into the old Drove Road, back up into the hills. And up there is Caer Caradoc. Caradoc's hill fort, a Bronze Age, Iron Age, really big fort up there. And reputedly, the site of Caradoc's last battle against the Roman legions. Although, if you read Tacitus, there's a river in the description of the battleground, and obviously we're on top of a hill, so there's no river here. But you never know, it might have been in the bottom of the valley. Isn't that far away down Church Stretton? Not in distance anyway. Vertically it's been a bit of a push, but it wouldn't be the March of Castle's Way without a bit of legwork, would it? And there's yet another castle to add to the collection. Big one as well. It's interesting. Although you kind of think of it as the medieval castles in this area, it's actually, I mean, I haven't done the exact maths, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are actually more prehistoric castles on this route than medieval ones. And also, it's just really interesting how they split, you know. You've got the Norman castles being put in down on the you know, in the river valleys, on the roads where they're controlling transport and sort of, you know, the arteries into and out of the places, and then all the Celtic stuff is going on right on the top of the hills. But when they have been excavated, it's generally the case that occupation of the hills is only relatively sporadic. You know, maybe it's during sort of feasting times or just when there's a threat of danger. Mostly they're out in the rest of the countryside, and we don't really know where, because it's practically impossible to see unless you know what you're looking for and you're in something like an enclosure like a hill fort, trying to find, you know, recognizing an Iron Age or Bronze Age post hole building, just, you know, in the free range world is just pretty much impossible unless you've got a load of finds with it. And even in those cases, you know, Iron Age pottery is fairly easy to mistake for actually, if anything, it looks like an old Oreo cookie, sort of black and crumbly a lot of the time. But yeah, anyway, Caer Caradoc, a very nice big Welsh hill fort. Welsh? I don't know. No, because we're in England now, aren't we? But it's called Caer Caradoc. It's Welsh. No argument about that. That's a Welsh hill fort, even if we are in England. And as much as there's been some stunning views and amazing historical and scenic spots, there's just been a lot of joyful rolling along just simple forgotten farm tracks like this. Just lovely rolling contour and gravel. ideal. I don't know, maybe I'm losing my marbles after being immersed in history for the past 3 days, but there's just something not quintessentially medieval about these woods on these ridge lines. You'd be at all surprised if you bumped into Baldric coming back from a bit of poaching, or a lord on horseback pursuing some stag. It really is utterly timeless. And we're not even, you know, we're pretty close to Shrewsbury now. We're about 10k out. But still, it feels so wild and remote. And again, no people. Deer, buzzards, red kites, plenty of those. People, not so much. Get the final furlong zoomies! And this is another one of those endless descents where you suddenly realise how much climbing you've gradually done on this route, which means a lot of descending points racked up. I feel like I've been going for hours downhill. Ah, a real gift towards the end of the day. And this little beauty is Langley Chapel, an almost perfectly preserved 17th century Anglican church. I mean, it's very simple, but it's beautiful. Again, just think of all the people who've sat here. There's your choristers' boxes, and there's where your musicians would have been. The pulpit. Oh, I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to churches, to be honest. And that's where you just sat when you take communion. But just look at that roof. And it's so well preserved. Amazing. I mean, you've even got some little plaster decoration up there. I absolutely love the key. That's just hanging here, so you can unlock it, go inside for a look. And this is Acton Bernal Castle. Although, like me, after all these climbs today, it's just a shell. But it's amazingly well preserved. I mean, it fell out of use in sort of the 1400s. It was built in the late 1200s by Edward I, Chancellor of the Exchequer, and the king, when on his Welsh campaigns, would often stay here. And it's also reputed that he once held Parliament here in a tithe barn. That was the first time that commoners were ever present at a parliamentary meeting. So, you know, tucked in behind the churchyard of Acton Bernal Church here, is actually quite a significant building. And it's also significant because this is the last castle on the Marcher Castles route. But Acton Bernal itself is an absolutely gorgeous place. Beautiful little village. There's certainly been no shortage of them in the last 300k. But definitely a real concentration around Shrewsbury. And Ludlow, I'll say, yeah, Shrewsbury and Ludlow are the picture postcard village hotspots on this route for sure. And a final treat for you Iron Bridge fans is Cantlope Bridge, designed by none other than Thomas Telford, who Telford is named after, and he realised that you didn't have to build a bridge like a wooden bridge, which is how the Iron Bridge was built, and you can actually build it even lighter. So this is a very, very advanced cast iron bridge for its age, and it's actually one of the very few still surviving in Shropshire, although it's not used for actual vehicle traffic. It's been replaced by this rather less exciting concrete bridge, which I have to say hasn't fared nearly as well by the look of things. I mean, that's a beauty. And I'm pleased to say This is the last climb of the entire route. A little rise up a suitably deep hedged, sand in the centre, trees arching overhead, iconic Shropshire back lane, which has really been the framework for this whole fabulous route. Oh, and by the way, if you could see the nettle rash in the previous shot, don't worry, we won't be including the little shortcut that gave me that. And those are the joys you don't see on these recce rides, are the bits that eventually get cut out. You know, whether because they're just too overgrown, there doesn't seem to be a chance of getting them regularly cleared up for riders, or, you know, there's a combination of quite a lot of the routes, quite a lot of the tracks around here have been blown out by recent heavy storms, so they're just a bit too rocky to be comfortable or to be ridden confidently on a gravel bike. So we don't want to put you down dead ends or have you trudging through head-high nettles. That isn't going to make you enjoy the routes, is it? So it's my job to come out and be the guinea pig and kind of refine the final details of these routes that Kieran Foster puts together for Cycling UK. But this one's been an absolute beauty once we get all the final edits done, and that'll obviously be the one that appears on the maps and the GPXs. It's going to be an absolutely stellar addition to the Cycling UK route collection. And now, scooting back into Shrewsbury on this handy cycle path. So, here we are, back at Shrewsbury Abbey. Roughly 300 kilometres of absolutely superb riding done over the past 3 days. Obviously, you can split it up into as many or as few days as you want. We'll have different itineraries in the guidebook at the back. There'll be maps in there, there'll be GPX files as well, so you can follow the route on your GPS system. The guidebook will also give you a lot more detail on the history that I've been talking about in passing. It will give you more details on the town, such as facilities, bike shops, transport, pharmacies, supermarkets, doctors, all that kind of thing, where relevant. Any questions you've got, please don't hesitate to send me a comment below the video. Make sure you watch all three to give yourself a real taste of this very diverse route, really. Everything from quiet back lanes to properly remote heathland and you know, near as damn it mountaintops over in Wales. And just, but the thing I think that really stands out with this route is just how deserted it is. What an amazingly kind of remote and yet convenient place it is. It's so easy to get to, and yet it feels like you're a million miles from anywhere. And, you know, apart from the sheep and the wildlife, pretty much uninhabited. So, hope you've enjoyed these 3 videos. I'll be doing another video on the bike for those that are interested in that kind of thing. It's a Santa Cruz Stigmata running the new SRAM Red Explorer group set, and I'm using Restrap bags and a Hammerhead GPS, and I've been wearing a Restrap hydration vest as well. But obviously I'll go into those in more details for those that are interested on a separate video. But for now, massive thanks to Cycling UK for getting me on board again for this project. Like I say, I narrate these videos and I also write the guidebook, so please buy that guidebook because it helps fund these routes in future and gives you that extra level of information. And if you're not already a member, please consider joining Cycling UK, because you not only get to support a charity that does great advocacy work, great route creating work, but you also get a lot of membership perks, including an excellent monthly magazine, which I also contribute to on occasion, and you get insurance and legal representation through Cycling UK as well. But for now, I've been Guy Kesteven, filming for Cycling UK on the 3rd part of the brand new Marcher Castles Way route. Certainly a challenging adventure in places, but absolutely one worth adding to your to-do list if you like wild gravel and mountain biking exploring. And make sure you do leave some time to explore Shrewsbury, because it really is a beautiful place. A massive thanks to Sandy at Trailhead Bicycle Company for helping out with the prep on this route. Cheers, Sandy.